Hey, what's up? This is Micah from This Divine World, and this is part 2 of face-to-face video number 6. I was recording the last one and trying to make it just one video. When I got to 14 minutes, I realized that this was going to be a long video, so this is going to be trying to address the question about whether or not Christians should support secular bands. And basically, same as the last one, take everything I say with a grain of salt. It's just my opinion, but also understand that I'm trying to have this be the truth, and this isn't. I don't want it to just be my opinion. I want it to be what God would say to you, and so this kind of comes from my life and conversations I've had with people, and experiences I've had with people, and stuff like that. So, anyways, I guess the first talking point I would say is that we've gotten messages and people ask us, if you're a Christian band, how can you support this? Because we'll post sometimes, hey, go check out this band. Are you a fan of this band? Or have you seen this music video or this new song that comes out from this band or whatever? And then somebody will go and check it out, and maybe there will be swearing in it, or they'll go in and see they'll read the info page or whatever and find out that it's not a Christian band, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's a fault of us, but I want to at least try and not just defend myself, but I want to give you my thought and my reasoning on why I think we as Christians, and especially Christians in the metal community, should support secular bands. And even if we don't personally, maybe should support is the wrong term, but that they have the right to be a secular band, and that we shouldn't hate on them, and that I think we can gain things from them. So anyways, I don't know, I'm not going to pick a specific example of a band, but when we post on a band, I've posted on it a few different times. I'll say, check this out, and then inevitably somebody says, hey, that's not a Christian band, or whatever, something like that. And I think it's an important talking point, to say that you can appreciate something in a band and not appreciate the entire band. Like, if you got a meal, you order a meal and you're like, oh yeah, I really liked the main dish, but the fries were cold. Like, so was it a good meal? Yeah, it was all right. So, for example, I don't know, King Conquer is a band that I really like. Really heavy, down-tuned, awesome, brutal vocals, sick breakdowns, really awesome fast parts. But they're not Christian at all. Anti-Christian, totally doesn't live the lifestyle that a Christian would. Not in support of Christian ideologies. Bands like I Declare War, Rose Funeral, kind of stuff like that. We list these bands as some of our influences, and yet they're totally opposite and totally opposed to what we believe. And for me, they're just musical influences. Like, if these vocalists were screaming na 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 na, or ripped out this middle page of a dictionary and were screaming like these words, it would be the same thing to me. But because I really appreciate the music. But a step beyond that, okay, so for example, let's just say, take it to the far end of the spectrum and say that it's a Satanist band. Or whatever, something dark and evil and atheist, totally opposed to what we believe in. How can I post that band knowing that and say that I support them? I think for one, a simple perspective is, if you were in a band, and if you're not in a band, then you don't understand as much, or you might not. It's a lot of work to be in a band. It's money, it's time, it's practicing, it's relationships with people, it's going on Facebook and promoting and all these things. You can appreciate them as an artist. Like, they're not human beings because they're not Christian, And I think we maybe overlook some simple facts or some simple things. Like, it's no small feat to make it to a record label or to have a record deal. and stuff like that. And so like I think we should appreciate some simple things about artists and respect the fact that they have a message. Like for me, I personally, and from a perspective of a person in a band and as a musician to another person in a band and as a musician, respect somebody so much more that has a message and a cause. Like, I understand being in a band just to be in a band and just making music and saying, like, I do it for the love of the music. That's cool. But I think being in a band, I feel like you have a responsibility to, you're getting people to like you. You're getting people to, you're influencing them. And to just give them a hollow, empty message, I feel like is so shallow. I love when bands speak their mind, even if it's a total opposite thing that I believe. I should say this with some reservations. If they believe what they say, then I respect them. And even though I don't personally agree with what they're saying, I love that they have a message, and I love that, you know, if I think that a lot of people have good intentions. You know, I watch a lot of debates and evolutionists and atheists and all that whole thing. And Christopher Hitchens, actually, I stopped in the middle of it watching a debate between Christopher Hitchens and Peter Hitchens to record this because I felt like I couldn't avoid it any longer. I got another message, but in any case, he really believes what he's saying, and he thinks that your life would be better off if you lived what he said. And I think that's such a respectable thing, you know, because so many people, they just live, they have no message, and bands that exist for nothing and stuff like that. And so, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this, and, you know, maybe I shouldn't support these bands. And it's a very real possibility. But from my perspective, I think they have a right to, and I think we should be able to say, hey, that was a good song, without saying, well, you don't believe in God, so I can't like that song. Yeah, you might not agree with the spirit of why they're in a band, or you might not agree with the inspiration behind the lyrics that they wrote or whatever. But like, is a guitar, like if you just heard like an open chugging guitar by itself, like, is that evil or is that good? And you can't really say either, you know? So it's those other things that change it. And I think taken and put in a different context, the same situation, like I was talking about with the food or whatever, in my last video I talked about a restaurant or whatever, Christian restaurant versus a non-Christian restaurant. I think, I don't think you would hold people to those standards with music. And so, I don't know, I could be 100% wrong, and maybe, you know, maybe when I, in judgment, am, God's like, you know, why did you lead these other people astray? Like, you weren't supposed to tell them to support these bands, stuff like that. I feel like I would say the same thing that I'm saying to you now. Like, I believe that it's okay to support those bands. You might not make fellowship with them, you know. You don't like ask for big life advice from these people or whatever, or make them like an intimate part of your life, or, you know, make their message fold into your central living or message of your heart or your life. But to like listen to their music and just sit back and be like, yeah, they're a musician, like they made music, they're passionate about something, they're an artist, and to just respect them for that, and just to let somebody else have an opinion different than yours. Like, you might be able to learn something from them. And I don't know, maybe that's saying too much, but I've definitely, like, for me, when I see interviews with bands and they're talking about how much they like hate God or don't believe in God, all I see is a vulnerability. I see somebody that's really loves God and has these feelings that have been turned in the wrong direction. And so, you know, maybe you should go out and support a band and go to their show and talk to them. And if we're not being a light to these bands, then who is? So, anyways, that's my combined 24-minute rant on whether or not Christians should listen to secular music or support secular bands. So, hopefully, it answers some questions for you. And, you know, if you disagree or agree, post a video response. And I'm definitely open to being wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to lead people in the wrong direction, because I have to do more than answer to you. I have to answer to God for it. But I also want to be living in truth and live, you know, to live here as we're called to. So anyways, have a good night.